Hello guys, you alright? It doesn't look like there's that many viewers actually, so maybe I haven't reached out to enough people. I'm just waiting to see if anyone else is going to join. I can see I've got 2 at the moment, but if you've got any questions, I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to test my... Is the audio okay? Can you hear me alright? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please? It's the first time I've actually done this live stream, so it's a bit hit and miss for me really. I don't know what's working and what's not, and so I've got 3 watching at the moment, I can see. Do any of those 3 have any questions? Anything you want to know? As I say, I'm new to this live, so I'm not even sure if you can hear me, so if someone can write a message and let me know. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Well, while we're waiting, I'm Horlicks anyway. I've actually built 2 3D printers now. The Vector 3s. I did one for a good friend of mine. He saved up all the parts for 2 years, and then he didn't have. They had a little one come along, so he didn't have time. He didn't do it. During the weeks, he saved it all up into a big box, and he sort of chucked me the box and said, "Build that for me," because he knows I like stuff like that. And so yeah, I built his and got it all up and running. A lot of swearing involved, and then I decided, oh, I wish I'd got one. And obviously I'd missed all the magazines anyway. So what I did in the end was I went on eBay and I found one. And those, sorry to upset any of those who did pay out for the subscriptions, or the mags, but I managed to pick mine up, which you can see in the picture now. I managed to grab that for £150 on eBay. and then it obviously arrived, but he didn't package it very well, and unfortunately about 4 or 5 pieces snapped. It wasn't packaged well. The extruder head was hanging off. There was bits of bent, there's some bent metal, some plastic that had snapped in about 3 or 4 different places. So luckily I managed to source the parts, and I've rebuilt it from the ground up. Basically, I had to strip everything down. He said the bloke who had it never used it at all, but it did. It looked unused, but there was so much wrong with it. Like, various screws were over tightened. Nothing was set up properly. Everything was plugged in the wrong places. So I literally stripped this one. After doing Dean's, I stripped this one, and it's working perfectly now. So I've built 2, but I know there's a lot of people out there that haven't even got this to print. There's a guy who messaged me on Facebook. He saw a couple of my YouTube videos. I've only done a couple on this, and he actually messaged me on Facebook. He found me, and I've been sort of helping him through. And he had a lot of issues with his, and so I'm sort of guiding him through at the moment, various things to do and change. But I haven't actually heard from him in the last couple of days. I think he's busy working. So, but yeah. That's so I'm waiting to get an update from him, and then I thought, well, I can try a YouTube live if there is anyone out there with any issues or any problems they're having. Obviously, I've had both these printers apart God knows how many times to get them right. They're very finicky, but they do work, and once they're set up correctly, they're absolutely fantastic. So the only gripe I've got with the Vector 3 is the build plate is not very big. It's 140 by 140, so you're limited on what you can actually print. But yeah, judging by this, there doesn't seem to be anyone there with any problems. Maybe I haven't reached out to enough people. I did try and share on Facebook the live that I was going to be doing, and I think it's just a case of it not reaching out. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be anyone out there with any problems. So those of you who are watching, if you can, I'll may have to reschedule another live possibly for the future when I've got the word out a bit more. So those of you who are watching, if you could share when that comes about, that would be fantastic. But I've had a few comments on a couple of my YouTube videos asking about various things, and so my printer now is I've done a few upgrades on it already. As you can tell by that picture on the left there, I've got rid of I've got it here, this black build plate. I've got rid of that, and I'm now using a glass. If you are using this black build plate, it's recommended to use a large sheet of masking tape and not like strips of it of such, because it doesn't stick. Like general masking tape doesn't seem to stick. So I've on eBay you can buy packets of 5 of these big blue 3D printing like sheets specifically for, and then what I do is obviously stick them on. But the only thing is they stick very, very well, and if I pull this off, you might be able to see. When you try and pull your model off, it likes to rip the masking tape, so you get through a lot, and it was costing me quite a lot of money to do that, so I decided to go with the glass. And forgive the pronunciation, I don't know, I think it's called Brasiliate or something like that, and you can buy that from Amazon, and it's 140 by 140, and it was £11 something, including the postage. So it's a very good upgrade, and all you do is you get a perfectly smooth finish, obviously being glass, and all you have to do is just when your printer's warming up ready to print, just whack a bit of hairspray on just before the bed rises, and that is enough to keep that stuck throughout the print. And then when the print's finished, let the machine cool down for a few seconds or minutes even, and the model just pops straight off. No mess, no hassle. And then obviously what you have to do with that build plate is remove the you'll have a clip at the front there and then two at the back. Just take them off, unscrew them, and then I use some thermal pads, which you can get on eBay, Amazon, things like that, like what you would use for a processor or something, and then just put 5 squares under the plate, under the glass plate, just to absorb the heat into the glass. So that has been one of the best upgrades I've done. So that's that. Is there any more while I'm mid-flow? Is there anyone with any questions at all regarding their printers or? No. Does the chat even work? I'm just wondering if there's something wrong. Mind you, OH Vlogs has written a message there. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I said this is all very alien to me. I've never done a live before, so this is new to me. Okay, well, if you do have any questions, yeah, obviously write it in the chat. I'll get that. And so my other upgrade I've done is, I'm sure those of you who are watching that do have this printer, the bearings are a major issue. I've got a new one here that they sent me. Now I don't actually use them anymore. They are awful. They're scratchy. They're not smooth. There's a lot of problems with the y-axis and the bed wobbling. I did do a YouTube video on adjusting it, but I found that adjustment was okay for maybe a print or two, and then it would be sloppy again. So what I've actually done is I've upgraded the bearings in my printer. I haven't done the Z-axis up and down. I've just done the X and Y. And all you do is you take your carrier off, which is the black part, and then you find if you get a socket or something like that that's just the right size to fit in the holes, you can put this carrier, the bearing carrier, into like a vise, and then just give it a dental trap. Just give it a gentle tap, and then obviously the the bearing will just fall out, and then I've replaced them with RJ for JP Drylin plastic bearings, and they just slot straight into the holes where they came from, and that gives you a nice tight very nice tight fit on the rails, and then it's so much better. It's smooth, it's tight, precise. So oh, hi there, Darren. He's saying he's not bought a 3D printer, but he would like to see it working. Well, that is not a problem. I'll be able to sort that out. I'll see. I might be able to print like a trolley token or something. It's difficult. A lot of prints, it astounds me, is they can take hours just for a small thing. What I'll do actually is I've got a few models I've already printed. If you bear with me a second. Okay, so what I've got here, this amazes me every time. This project took about 8 hours. Okay, and it printed it on the bed like that. And then all you do is you take it off the printer and you give it a little wiggle and a pry just to separate everything, and you'll notice it's got that twisty dial just on the top there. Let me just take that off for a minute and adjust you a bit. There you go. Yeah. And then what you do, I mean, it still astounds me how it printed this. This was printed, as I say, in one go. It took 8 hours and it printed up right like so. You may have seen this on Thingiverse already. And then when it's printed and cooled, and you've just given it a shake and a pull apart like that to make everything loose, you can twist that and it's like a platform jack. And it's, you know, it doesn't really do anything. It's just, there you go. That's the capability of the printer. Now, it did this, as I say, in one go. There was no parts to this. And it even printed the thread through the nut. So, it just amazes me. So that's just one of the things I've managed to print. And then you can bring that back down there. Just a bit of a gimmick, really. Another thing I've printed is this T-Rex skull. Now this gets printed in 4 parts. You've got the bottom jaw, and there you go, and then you've got the top of the skull. And then what you can do is they've got little lugs on, and you can just snap them together like so. And if I can do it like that, and then that's it. So I've got, that's my T-Rex jaw I did, and then with that I printed a base that's already got the little hole in it. Again, with the glass, you know, that's super smooth underneath. I don't think you can see that in the light. It's sort of shiny, so the glass is definitely a good upgrade. and then you've got this part here that goes in to the bottom there, clips in, and then it's like a stand. If I can get that in again, and there you have it. That's the final article. That didn't take too long to print. It was, I think the stand was about 30 minutes. This little rod, I think, was about 15 minutes. The bottom jaw was about 2.5 hours print time, and then the top part here was, I think that took about three, nearly 4 hours just for that part. So that's that one I've printed, and I've also done the Death Star. It's a bit awkward to see in this light, but all the detail, you can just see it there. It has printed all the detail, and this was printed in 2 halves. So it did the top half and the bottom half, and you have got a small seam around the middle there, and then you just glue them together. And then what you can do is you can paint. I mean, this was printed in PLA, so if you wanted to print in say ABS, for instance, that prints at a higher temperature, and these printers don't really like that for some reason, so it takes a while to get warmed up. But yeah, it's just, once you've printed it, if you do have a printer or this printer and you get it to print ABS, which I have done before, you can then do and put it in an acetone bath, which is where you get like a sealed, like a bucket or something, and soak some tissue or rags in some acetone solution, and then you hang it inside the bucket and put your model inside, and then you cover it with a lid, and then what happens is it slowly reacts with the ABS. It doesn't work for PLA, but with ABS it does, and then it starts to sort of gently melt the outside, and then as long as you don't leave it in there too long and you get it just right, you'll get a perfectly smooth finish, and it's amazing. But I don't like printing with ABS. I prefer PLA, and acetone doesn't react with PLA. So yeah, that's that. And I've also, now this was the very first thing, actually this was the very first thing I tried to print, and it's a whistle. Now that looks very neat, but I tell you, it took days and days to get that to come out like that, with a lot of tinkering, and it works. So and it's got the little ball in there as well. So yeah, that was a lot of messing around to get that to print, but I got there in the end, and I was super happy when it did. I mean, look, it's just absolutely, perfect. And the secret to it is, it's all about the calibration. You've got to, it's easy just to do it thereabouts, but you have to get the calibration of that bed exact. As a lot of you who are successfully printing, you've got, it takes nearly an hour just to get it done properly. And those of you who do have this printer will know that there was a lot of issues with the adjuster screws underneath. Now I do have some here somewhere, if I can show you. Yeah, these are the thumb screws that came supplied. Now the end is just completely, you might be able to see that, it's completely stripped away, and it's no fault of the actual plate, the heater plate. It's these screws. They're awful. They're just, I don't know what they're made of. They're just not strong. So as soon as you start, twisting up, he just rips the thread off. And I thought it was the actual build plate that was ruined as well, but it wasn't. So what I did was I bought these again, Amazon, and they're a bit. They got smaller heads at Allen Key M3s, and then what I did with that is I had to buy a packet of M3 washers, and then you just fit a washer on the end, and then they go in nicely, and they're decent quality, and that solved all my problems. And to be honest, it's easier to adjust it with an Allen key rather than using, you know, your thumb with it, because it was too tight. And you can use a flathead screwdriver in that, but as I say, you put a bit of pressure on it, it just strips that thread and it's useless. So yes, that's that. So I see. Right, so Darren said he wanted to see it working. So what I can do is, if I turn the printer on and get it warmed up, I can give you a little. I'll show you it. Maybe if I print like a trolley token or something. Something quick. Let me have a little look. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Okay, right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have to jiggy around with the camera. You're going to lose me for a bit, because unfortunately my other camera stopped working, so I've only got one to play with at the moment. So what I'm going to do, I'll just put you on a minute's break, and then I'll come back and you'll be able to see the printer in action for those who wanted to see it. So I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Okay, as you can see, the printer is now warming up. I'm just going to see if I can zoom you in a little bit. And adjust you up. Now, it's not going to be the best quality, unfortunately. As I say, my good camera broke, so I'm waiting for a replacement of that. But at the moment, it's just warming up the printer. It needs to heat the print bed first, and then after it's done the heat bed, it's about 70 degrees, so that's going to heat to. Currently we are on 41. It might take a little bit longer because I've obviously got the lid off at the moment, and the lid keeps a lot of the heat in, so it's going to do that, and then it will heat the extruder up, which is a little bit quicker. I'm just going to move you up a tab more. So yeah, this is for Darren, who wanted to see one working. So we're nearly there, it's not too long. As I say, it is quite, once it gets going, it should be alright. So has anyone else got any questions in here that are watching at the moment? Or anything you need to know about 3D printing perhaps, or okay, the temperature is now at 62 for the bed. It's got to get to 70. As I say, it's going to be a little bit longer than normal because obviously I've got the lid off to give you guys a good view. So obviously the air in the room doesn't help, but it's getting there. It's on 65 out of 70 at the moment. And then when it gets to temperature, it will beep. Three times, I believe. And then it will start heating the extruder, which is a lot quicker. There we go, there's the 3 beeps. It will rehome the axis, and now it's going to print, it's going to heat the extruder. So the bit we're looking at now, with the LED flashing, just underneath there, where the red and white cable is, that is the heater block. So that red wire is actually the heater, and the white wire that's going in there is the temperature probe. So what it's doing now is it's heating up to 190 degrees. Already it's on 80, So as I say, it's a lot quicker, and that will soften the PLA so that it can extrude it. We're now on 155 out of 190, and then the printer will kick in. I'm not sure you can see that, but you may just be able to start to see some of the white filament just coming through that extruder. We're on 181. There we go, 90. So now it's going to start printing, and at this point I'm just going to spray some hairspray on that plate. Just so it's got something to adhere to. Okay, and what it's going to do now, I need to try and get you up a little bit actually, because it's not a very good angle. Alright, bear with me, I may jolt a bit, so I'll get you a better angle, there you go. So what it's just done is it's printed 2 rings around the project, and what that does is it just makes sure the filament is actually being extruded correctly. Now you can set that up in the settings, you can have as many rings as you want, so you know that it's going to extrude. Now what it's printing now is the outline of the actual trolley token, if you can just see that. Sorry, the quality isn't very good. I'm trying to get you a good angle. If I try and move you a bit closer. Bear with me, sorry, I'm just trying to get you a better view. For the remainder of the project. I will be better. I will try and be better prepared next time. But I wasn't sure whether anyone. Can see it in operation. trying to get a good view for you. There we go. Okay, so that beat was it. That was the machine letting me know that it's done the first layer, and now it's going to do the rest of the project. So obviously it does it in layers. And this is going to take 13 minutes to finish this. So as you can see, it builds up the layers fairly quickly. Hello, welcome to whoever's joined. If you've got any questions regarding your printer, then fire away. This is the Vector 3 3D printer by Eaglemoss. Hi there, Carl. I hope you can hear me. Yes, as I explained earlier, I have changed the build, the bed. It's a glass. You can only buy it from Amazon, as it's the only one that fits. And then what I've done is I've removed all of the clips and used a thermal pad. 5 thermal. You can just see the corner of it as it comes, as it goes back there on the left-hand side. There's five thermal pads, one in the middle and one in each corner, which gets the heat up into the glass. It's the best upgrade I've ever done on this thing. And then all you have to do is just before it prints and your bed rises, squirt it with some super hold hairspray, and that will keep it intact, ready to obviously print. And then when it sticks perfectly, and then when the printer cools down, it literally just pops straight off. There's no effort involved. So, and the slicer I'm using is the one that comes with it, which is the 3D Create and Print. I have tried other slicers, however, I found that they were either printing too fast or too slow, and it was causing me a lot of issues. So I seem to be having absolutely no problem with 3D Create and Print's own software, to be honest. So yeah, I hope that sort of answered your question. Yeah, I hope that sort of answered your question. Are you saying you're having so many problems with it? If so, what sort of problems are you getting? As well as the bed upgrade, as I explained earlier on, I've actually changed my bearings as well. So the X-axis at the top and that Y-axis in the actual bed, I've changed the bearings completely. Then what you can do is if you put the carrier in a vise and get a socket just big enough to fit through the hole, you can knock the bearings out completely as a whole unit that's inside, and I'll show you, see if I can show you. these are the bearings that were inside the carriers, and then they've got little ball bearings inside, as you can see, a row of them there, but I find them really scratchy and horrible, so I've actually changed the bearings to dryling ones, which are RJ4JPs, and they're grey, and they're just made of plastic, and that gives me a much better result, a much smoother action. You don't get any wobble from the y-axis either. And also, if you are using your original build plate, it's a good idea to get a sheet of specialist 3D masking tape. And it's a bit big to show, but it's just a sheet, as you can see there. It's just a large sheet of blue masking tape, and it just goes on in one go. You haven't got like to put strips in. Right, yeah, you say your print isn't sticking. Are you using masking tape, or are you building straight on? If you can see that, the black. Are you printing straight onto this black bit? No, you can't see it, but are you printing straight onto the black beds that came supplied? Because that, I've had a lot of issues with sticking as well. So it's definitely a good idea to start off with masking tape. I get mine from eBay, 5 sheets, and it's about £5.70 odd. However, I changed it to glass because I was fed up to keep buying it, because every time I did a print, it stuck so well it would rip the masking tape up. So obviously I've gone to glass now. And it's absolutely fantastic, and you get a really smooth finish at the bottom as well. Oh, masking tape and glue. What temperature is your... Okay, what temperature have you got your bed set at? And what temperature is your, are you extruding at? And I assume, are you printing PLA or ABS? Okay, my print bed is set at 70 at the moment. So try up your print beds to 70. I know it takes a bit longer to warm up with these printers, but if you set it to 70 and also your extruder set it to 190, that's what mine's on. Did you swap the fans over, the plugs over? So as you can see in that picture, the actual, oh, that's the print finished. The actual what are we on? The fan that's on the heatsink needs to be in socket J2, and the cooler needs to be in J1, and that was mentioned in a later issue in the magazine. And what that does is the software stops the extruder fan cutting in until it's done the first layer. And then that gives the extruder time to heat up to 190. So that is, as you can see in my picture, the fan that's on the heatsink goes into J2, which is the one in the middle, and the cooler goes into the one where that used to be. So I don't know if you've already done that or not, but you need to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to move you down a bit. So there's the print on the glass, and all I do now is I've got like a kitchen knife I use. Just literally get it in the back and flick it up and it pops off. Easy as that. No mess. And there's the trolley token. As you see, it's nice. It's a bit marked to the bottom. I haven't used it for a while, so I think it's all the dust. But yeah, the fan swap is a good thing to do. So, as I said, when the cooling fan is in J1, the software will tell the printer not to turn that on during the first layer of the print. So it'll give the extruder time to warm up. And also the switch that's on the bottom left, make sure that's in the up position for that to work. If it's in the down position, the software will not control those fans and they'll just be on all the time. So make sure that switch is in the up position also. Okay, bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to put you over and then readjust the camera so I can see you again. Sorry. This is the first time I've actually done a live, so I've forgotten to turn the microphone on, so I've just spent the last 5 minutes talking and you couldn't hear me. So, as I was saying, sorry Carl, yeah. Yeah, do that. That's definitely a good thing. Swap those plugs over. As for the bed, that's a very good upgrade. Amazon, it's a Brociliate glass, I think it's called. If you just type in 140 by 140 3D printing glass, it should come up, and it's £11. And then all you need, as you can see, there's 5 thermal pads there, so just put them in, one in the middle, light squares like I've done, and around the edges, and then use hairspray. So just as the printer is just about to do the print and the bed goes up, whack some hairspray on there, and I've had no issues at all. Yeah, and as I was saying, with my standard bed, I've tried normal masking tape and it doesn't work. So on eBay you can buy these sheets of blue 3D printing paper, masking tape paper. It's about £5.77 for 5 sheets. And then what you do, obviously just stick it on the top of the bed. You may have to adjust your calibration, and that's another important thing. Make sure your calibration is spot on. I know it's a bore, and you just want to get printing, and I was the same, but you've really got to spend, you know, a good amount of time making sure your bed is absolutely level. Otherwise it will just mess the whole print up, as I found out a few times. The bearing is a Drylin, Drylin. You can see that, maybe not. No, Drylin RJ4JP. I'm not sure what's going on with this. It just muted me all by myself. Sorry. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you can get those Drylin bearings on eBay, Amazon. You're going to need 8 of them. No, sorry, forgive me. You're going to need 4. No, I bought 8. I bought a packet of 8 because it was better value, but I didn't do the Z-axis that goes up and down because I tried them and it caused issues. So I've just done the 2 at the top where the extruder is on that rail, and I've done the 2 in the Y-axis where the print bed is. You've got to get that again, it's a bit setting up. You're going to have to adjust them because they're so nice tight fit, slightly out, and it wedges up, so it's going to need a lot of tinkering with them, but they go in nicely. As I say, I've got a bearing here in a packet because I ended up getting a few. So all you need to do is get a socket, put this in a vise carefully, wrap like a towel or a cloth around it, and then you put your bearing like a socket in so it fits in the hole, and then gently tap it out with a hammer, and then you'll end up with the bearings like that coming out. Okay, and then all you do is push fit these ones back in, which are those Drylin RJ4JPs. And it's fixed a lot of issues with my wobbling bed and all sorts, and it quietens the printer down a little bit as well. Now you don't actually need any grease for those Drylin bearings, they run dry, hence the name Drylin. But I did put a bit of the grease on that came supplied with the printer. If not, you can use some Vaseline or something like that if you want to. See how it is. But I did put some on mine, but you're not supposed to. So yeah. That is it, I think. Obviously, yeah, this is, as I showed you earlier, there's a couple of my prints I made. That's my T-Rex on a stand. A whistle. I've got my Death Star, which printed in 2 halves, and then I had to glue it together. And then this I printed, oh, you may have seen it on Thingiverse. It printed this in 1 unit, as I said earlier. So I did it on my bed like that. And that's how it printed. And then all you do is, when it's printed, give it a bit of a tug and a twist. And then you can twist that, and it opens up. And it did that in 1 print. It took 8 hours, and it even printed the thread through the nut there. Now, I didn't actually think the Vector 3 could print anything like that because of the bad start I had with it, but it is possible. So yeah. But as I say, you want your bed on 70 and your extruder on 190. That's the best settings I've found. I mean, I suppose it could all be different. Yeah, and also, I mean, I know I didn't in this video, but I was only doing a small print. Make sure the lid is down, because that keeps the heat in as well. If otherwise, you may end up with a warp on some of your projects. And if you're thinking about trying, I mean, it's personal preference, but if you are thinking of trying ABS, personally, I wouldn't bother. I bought a load of samples, and the printer just could not really cope. It was so difficult, because it kept, you know, warping. So it's very difficult plastic to print with. So yeah. Yeah, so is there any more questions from anyone before I go? Yes, I printed that. Once your printer's up and running, I printed that on Thingiverse, and someone had, I can't remember the name of the lad because I'll give him a bit of praise, but he designed that, and that's so much better. because the other one that came supplied was cooling the extruder down too much, because of the angle it's sitting in, and obviously the instructions were wrong. So you need to, if you have got the original cooler on, you need to turn the brackets round, so that it's facing, like the one I've got on there now, it's sort of going downwards. If you turn your bracket, if you haven't already, if you turn your brackets round on your cooler duct, it will sit at that sort of angle. But I printed that, and what happens is it actually directs air out the bottom of the end of that nozzle instead of at the nozzle, so that helped with a lot of issues when warming the printer up. And that was printed in 3 parts. You've got the main body at the top where the fans attach, and then you can print some spacers. So I think the file comes with a 1mm spacer or a 2mm spacer, and then obviously the duct which bolts on from underneath, with the spacer wedged in between, depending on your setup. So yeah, that's on thingiverse.com, which I'm sure you've been on before. Yeah, I think I typed in Vector 3 cooling duct and you'll see it on there, and it's a free download. But obviously you need to get your printer up and running properly before you even attempt to print that, because it takes a long time, and the last thing you want to do is print it and it messes up halfway, because it's a lot of filament to waste. So the one you've got on there now should be alright for the moment. Yeah, it's definitely a good upgrade. I mean, there might have been new ones out now, but that's the one I seem to have stuck with, and it works rather well. So yeah. That's alright. Okay, well, thanks for thanks for your questions. I'm happy to answer them. Obviously, if you've got any more questions, just send me a message. I do have a couple of Vector 3 printers, but if you've got any more questions, then just add them onto this video when it gets uploaded, and I'll do my best to help. Oh, hello, Carl. I've got 2 Carls in there now. Okay then. Well, that's me for today. I shall do possibly another one in the future, when I get. So if you can all like, share, subscribe, that would be fantastic, and then you'll be up to date with any more videos I'm going to do. So I'll leave you with this for now, and I shall see you all soon.